Alright, let's dive into this lightning-fast game. Opening analysis. The bishop's opening. Elephant Gambit. Declined transposed. Opening name. This game begins with 1. e4, e5 2, bc4. This is known as the bishop's opening. Strategy and tactics in the bishop's opening. The bishop's opening is an old and classic opening, often seen in beginner and intermediate games, but also holding its own as a tricky surprise weapon at higher levels. White strategy. Early kingside development. White aims to develop the light-squared bishop to c4 quickly, targeting black's f7 pawn, which is the weakest point in black's starting position. This creates immediate threats and can lead to tactical opportunities if black is not careful. Control of the center. While 1. e4 already stakes a claim in the center, 2. bc4 doesn't directly challenge black's central pawn. White often tries to follow up with d3 or nf3 to support the e4 pawn and control d4 and f4 squares. Aggressive play. The bishop's opening can often lead to open, tactical positions, especially if white goes for gambits like the elephant gambit, as we see a hint of here. Black's strategy. Counterattacking f7. Black needs to be mindful of the threat to f7. Common responses include developing a knight to c6 or playing nf6. Thirds, central control. Black will aim to challenge white's central presence, often with d5 or nf6, to establish their own pawns or pieces in the center. Development. Standard developing moves like nf6, nc6, bc5 are typical to bring pieces into play and prepare for castling. Move-by-move commentary. 1. e4. And here we go. White kicks off the game with the classic king's pawn opening. 1. e4. This immediately opens lines for white's queen and light-squared bishop, and stakes a claim in the center. A very popular and aggressive start. 1. e5. Black responds in kind with 1. e5, mirroring white's central pawn push. This is known as the open game, and leads to a symmetrical setup, fighting for the d4 and f4 squares. Both sides are looking to control the crucial center. 2. bc4. A very direct move from white. 2. bc4 develops the light-squared bishop to an active square, immediately eyeing black's vulnerable f7 pawn. This move signals white's intention for aggressive play and brings us into the territory of the bishop's opening. 2. d5. Oh, a bold counter from black. 2. d5. Immediately challenges white's center and also tries to dislodge that active bishop on c4. This pawn push opens lines for black's queen and dark-squared bishop, but it does leave the d-pawn undefended for a moment. This specific response by black begins to hint at the elephant gambit declined, or a transposition, as black is willing to sacrifice a pawn for development and central control. 3. exd5. White accepts the pawn. 3. exd5 takes the pawn on d5. This opens the e-file for white's queen, and white has gained a pawn, but the d5 square is now open for black's pieces. This often leads to sharp, tactical lines. 3. nf6. Good development from black. 3. nf6 brings the knight into play, attacking white's e4 pawn, though it's no longer there. And more importantly, it develops a piece and prepares to castle. It also creates a battery with the queen on d8, eyeing the open d-file. 4. nf3. White develops the other knight. 4. nf3 is a very natural developing move, bringing the knight to a strong central square, controlling d4 and e5, and preparing for kingside castling. It also defends the d5 pawn. 4. nxd5. Black reclaims the pawn. 4. nxd5 snaps up the d5 pawn, bringing black's knight to a centralized and active square. Black has equalized the material and developed a piece. This is excellent play from black so far. 5. nxe5. White snatches another pawn. 5. nxe5 takes the e5 pawn, bringing the knight to the center of the board and attacking black's undefended queen on d8. This is a very aggressive move, but it brings the knight into a potentially vulnerable position. This is a common theme in the bishop's opening gambits, where material is exchanged for active piece play. 5. bc5. A very strong developing move by black. 5. bc5 develops the bishop to a very active diagonal, eyeing white's f2 pawn, and also putting pressure on white's kingside. It also defends the d6 square, and prepares for castling. Notice how black is developing quickly and efficiently. 6. nc3. White brings out another knight. 6. nc3 develops the queen's knight to a good square, controlling d5 and e4, and also putting pressure on black's knight on d5. This is a solid developing move, but perhaps white should be prioritizing castling kingside now. 6. Oh, excellent play from black. 6. Oh, castles kingside, bringing the king to safety and connecting the rooks. This is a crucial step in development and strengthens black's king's position. Black's development is truly excellent here. 7. Bx d5. White trades off the active bishop. 7. Bx d5 captures black's knight on d5. While this exchanges a minor piece for a minor piece, white's light-squared bishop was very active, and the knight was not ideally placed on d5 for black. However, it also opens the c-file for black's rook in the future. 7. c6. A pawn push with a purpose. 7. c6 attacks white's bishop on d5, forcing it to move. This also opens a diagonal for black's queen if it needs to move. This is a good tempo-gaining move by black, bringing another pawn into the center. 8. n x f7. A daring sacrifice by white. 8. n x f7 takes black's f7 pawn, a very aggressive move that attacks black's queen and rook simultaneously. White is clearly going for blood here, but this knight is now completely exposed and hanging out on f7. This is a highly risky move. 8. qf6. Black's queen finds a fantastic square. 8. qf6 puts the queen on a powerful diagonal, attacking white's knight on f7 and also keeping an eye on white's kingside. This is a strong counterattack from black. The queen is now also covering the f2 pawn for future tactical ideas. 9. nh6 plus. White tries a check. 9. nh6 plus delivers a check to black's king, forcing it to move. This move also removes the knight from danger, but it moves it to the edge of the board, where it's less effective. The knight on h6 can be trapped, or simply not contribute to the attack. 9. k8. Black moves the king to safety. 9. k8 takes the king off the g-file and prepares for future attacks from the f-file. This also means the knight on h6 no longer attacks the king. Black seems to have a clear plan. 10. ng4. White retreats the knight. 10. ng4 moves the knight back towards the center, but it's still somewhat out of play. White is trying to find a way to make this knight useful, but black's position is very solid. 10. bx f2 plus. A brilliant sacrifice from black. 10. bx f2 plus delivers a check to white's king and sacrifices the bishop. This move opens up the g1, a 7 diagonal for black's queen, and the f2 square is now vulnerable. This is a classic example of a clearance sacrifice to open lines for a mating attack. This is a devastating blow for white. 11. nx f2. White is forced to capture. 11. nx f2 takes the bishop, as it's the only way to get out of check. But now look at the position of white's king and the exposed f-file. 11. qxf2 hash, and that's it. Checkmate. 11. qxf2 delivers the final blow. Black's queen delivers a crushing checkmate, with the bishop on c5 supporting the queen's attack. What a beautiful and aggressive finish by black. A swift and decisive victory, showcasing excellent tactical awareness in the opening. Summary of the opening phase. This game quickly moved from a standard bishop's opening into a sharp tactical battle. Black played very accurately, declining the pawn sacrifice in the spirit of the elephant gambit and then developing rapidly. White's attempts to gain material through early pawn grabs and the nx-f7 sacrifice ultimately backfired due to black's focused development and strong tactical counterplay. Black's early castling and the beautiful 10. bxf2 plus sacrifice were key to securing this quick checkmate, a very entertaining miniature.